Hi, everyone. Welcome to LA Blockchain Summit. I'm here with CZ, the CEO of Binance. We're going to have 30 minutes to talk to him in a fireside chat where, as usual these days, we're in completely different parts of the world, but we'll try to make it engaging, even though I can only see him as a tiny little image in my screen. So I guess to set the scene, do you maybe want to give us an overview of sort of what's keeping Binance busy these days?
Sure. Thanks, Anna. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for having me here. So yeah, Binance, we're always busy with a bunch of different things. I guess these days we're quite busy with DeFi, and you also some CeFi, launch pool, Binance liquidity swap, and also the Binance Smart Chain. So I think all of those things are relatively new to our ecosystem, and we're spending quite a lot of time on that.
So I guess we can jump into DeFi. What are your thoughts generally on that? What do you find interesting in DeFi? What do you think might not be interesting? And do you think it's the future of finance?
Sure. So I think DeFi has some really interesting innovations in the last year, mostly starting from Uniswap. So there's the concept of you can stake your coins so that those coins are used for market makers to provide liquidity for other people to trade. And then the trading fees and the spreads are rebated to the people who are staking those coins. And I think this is a very valid model for people to stake coins to get an interest. And at the same time, those coins are used to provide a lower spread trading, which are beneficial for the traders. So I think this is really, really good. I think this aspect will stay. So I typically call this the liquidity pool aspect of DeFi. Right, but of course, in any decentralized finance or area, it's easy to copy. So there's a lot of copycats on this model, and everyone's trying to give a higher yield, which gets us to like a higher yield competition with people issuing new tokens to compensate as rebates. I think the super high yield models won't last that long. So most coins, they drop in value in 2 weeks. It drops significantly in value in 2 weeks. And then, so I think we will eventually settle into a more healthier range. I would guess somewhere between 5 to 50% APY. And those things, I think eventually the liquidity pools will stay. Yeah, I mean, if this is the future of finance, I think this is definitely a part of the future of finance. I don't know how big or how small it will be, but so far it's getting a lot of traction, and we're spending quite a lot of time on it as well.
So how do you make sure, since you've said that so many coins drop in value, how do you make sure that you're sort of listing the good ones and not listing junk, so that then your investors are buying sort of things that won't be valuable in 2 weeks and losing money?
Sure. So so we typically take a approach where we look at what's popular, what has users. So we typically go by number of users as the metric. But even this is very subjective and controversial. So we go by, like, say, number of followers on Twitter, number of people in the Telegram group, number of community users, number of unique addresses, trading volume, total value locked. So we look at all of this to sort of try to get an understanding of how popular, how many people are using this coin. Generally, the more users, the better. But any metric we publish can be gamed. So if we just say, look, unique number of addresses, people can do a massive airdrop, and then they'll get a high number of addresses. So any single metric can be gamed, and we try to look at the combination of everything. But to be honest, the real answer is we also don't really know, to be very frank. We are in a very new sector, and new sectors will have a higher failure rate. And Binance has always been one of those exchanges. Binance started as an altcoin exchange. So we have a history of listing a fairly large selection of tokens. And in a new sector that's really hot, it's actually a large number of projects will fail in time, and only a small number of those will be successful. So we just want to make that warning to our users very clearly. And we have recently launched what we call an innovation zone, where we ask very explicit questions to our users. So hopefully that will help filter them, or at least educate them about the risks, and filter out the users who are not in that risk profile. So it's not 100%, or it's not an easy thing to do, but we try to do our best.
Does Binance invest in DeFi projects yourself, or do you you have deposits? Do you stake those so that they get customers get an interest or?
Yeah, so I personally don't do any investment myself, but Binance, we actually just recently launched a $100 million fund for investing in DeFi and helping projects to grow in this ecosystem. So we actually have made about 5 to 10 investments already. Some of them may be already announced. Some of there's always a bunch of them in the pipeline. So we want to encourage, help people to mostly developers to develop more products in this space. So I personally have not really used DeFi myself. Even I read about them, I look at tutorial videos, but I'm not a trader. So I'm not a trader on Binance.com. I'm not a trader on DeFi either. So I don't really stake my coins. I'm too busy running Binance than worried about those things. So I'm unfortunately not an active user in this space, but I do see the value and the potential for it.
So if DeFi grows and the world becomes more decentralized, what's the future for exchanges like Binance and your competitors who are very much centralized and make fees and you're profitable and I don't know profitable, but you make a lot of money because you charge fees and you're centralized. What's your role in the future then?
I think eventually, my view, in the long term, I think DeFi will replace CeFi. I think that much is clear. When it's going to happen is going to be an interesting question. So I don't think it's going to happen anytime really soon. I think DeFi is getting a lot of traction in a few niche places. Number one, in stablecoin trading, and also in newer coins that are deemed too risky for centralized exchanges to list. So the centralized exchanges, they just list, and anybody can list anything. So and those are areas that they have a competitive advantage now, but also they also have some disadvantages. Like the current blockchains are generally quite slow and expensive, so they have capacity limitations. And the Ethereum blockchain typically carries about 1 million transactions a day. And right now there's clearly more demand than that number of transactions. And so the fees are quite high. Sometimes they go as high as like a couple $1,000s for a transaction. So much more expensive than even banks. So I think the short term for DeFi to overtake CeFi, it looks still unlikely. But from Binance's perspective, I think many people wrongly view us as a centralized exchange player. The centralized exchange do provide quite a lot of our revenues, which funds our growth in the ecosystem. But we take a view where the centralized exchange is really just a DVD version of Netflix. It's not our lasting goal. So even though we do run one of the largest exchanges in the world, centralized exchanges in the world, but it's not something that we have to really hold on to. So we are more interested in innovation, in pushing the space forward, and in just pushing more freedom of money. So and I'm sure that so one thing I fully am confident is that there are always more opportunities in the future than there was in the past. So even though that we have a profitable business, which may be cannibalized by some of the DeFi innovations, but if that's going to happen, it's going to happen regardless. And we actually want to embrace innovation. And I'm sure, so this is very similar to the sort of digital camera. Kodak invented it, but want to hold on to their film profits. And then they lost the digital camera and recently filed for bankruptcy and got bought. So I think we understand those lessons quite clearly now. And in the digital camera area, there's plenty of opportunities as well. So lots of companies have lots of organizations became very successful. So we view that there will be more opportunities in the future in the decentralized finance world. And we'll find something that's valuable. We already have a lot of projects in the space, and we also have our own we also have 2 of our own blockchains that we contributed fairly heavily in the early days, but now they're kind of slowly getting taken over by the community. And BNB is the native token on both blockchains. So all of those things are good for us in the future. So I'm not worried about centralized exchanges being cannibalized.
So what is the biggest risk to Binance that you see now to your business?
To be honest, I think right now the risk is really ourselves. Binance has been growing very quickly, and we are now around 1,500 people and spread all around the different parts of the world. Organizing a decentralized organization in this scale is really, really difficult. We do have a lot of issues internally in terms of our efficiencies. Even though looking from the outside is still pretty good, but inside we see that we're much less efficient than when we were 50 people. So so just on this scale, it's really hard to organize. And so we're learning a lot of the sort of internal collaboration, organizational ways as we're going along. So everything's a new experiment. And so I view that as the sort of the highest risk, is whether we can organize ourselves well. So one of the advantages we have is that we have very passionate people. So even though our organization is not very, the way we organize may not be super efficient or even super good, we have the passion of the people make up for it. So far that's been what's carrying Binance. So hopefully, but I view that as really as the real risk for Binance. That we need to be able to handle our own growth. So hopefully we can, but we still don't know. We just have to see.
So since you brought up the decentralization, I'm going to ask you a question everyone asks and never gets an answer to. So where is Binance headquartered?
So we don't really have a headquarter. Right? So this is the kind.
I have to ask, or else people will say Anna didn't ask him. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the question a lot of people do ask. But this is, I guess, when you're transferring from a horse wagon into a car, people still ask where's the horse, and well, we don't have a horse. We may have an engine somewhere, but we don't really have a horse. So this is one of the many things that many of the old concepts that we're trying to get away from. And within the Binance team, we actually don't use the word company. So we don't use the word company. We don't use the
word. All right, so let me ask you another way. So where do you guys pay taxes? Where are you registered to pay taxes? Which country?
So we actually have a number of companies that pay taxes. We do have a number of legal entities that pay taxes, and personally, everyone pay their own taxes in their respective jurisdictions. So that part is easy to solve, but there's some concepts which are hard to get around to. Yeah.
So let's move, I guess, to sort of, you said you have giant staff. What's the breakup now? Is it like a lot of people in tech? Do you have lots of people in compliance? How does that break up once you become a big exchange like you are?
Sure. I think the three biggest teams are tech is the biggest one. It's about 500 people or so. So basically a third of the workforce. And then customer support and compliance is probably the second biggest one, about 300 something, closer to 400. So that takes up about half of the organization. So compliance is part of the, we combine the compliance together with a service team. So it is a very, very heavy part of our any centralized exchange. And then we have a decent sized marketing team. So the marketing team is about 100 something. Much smaller than the other companies that are this global. The other teams are all small. They are like but we also have many small independent teams that have their own tech team, marketing team, all in one little group. So that's really for the sort of centralized exchange part. So we have many smaller teams, either through acquisitions or just internal entrepreneurial organizations, etc. So we also have many small, what we call independent business units that they run their own business.
Mm-hmm. So how do you guys work now these days to prevent money laundering and KYC and make sure that you're not a vehicle for cyber criminals to cash out, or or the, I guess, a point of concentration in the industry for that, or facilitating more of it?
Sure. I think so this is one of the things that many eyes are on Binance because we are one of the largest crypto exchanges. So one of the misconceptions people have is our KYC, AML, and compliance procedures. So I would say we have the most comprehensive KYC and anti-money laundering procedures and processes in place. So we pretty much work with all the vendors for blockchain analysis, for KYC, for big data analysis. And we also work with almost every law enforcement agency in the world. So this is something that people don't really understand about Binance, because they think Binance is a crypto exchange. But the fact that we survive for this long is because we do this part actually really, really well. But having said that, none of these procedures are 100%. So there are transactions which are, there are ways for hackers to mix their transactions, and then the monitoring tools do not flag them, and sometimes they get through. So they are, nothing's 100%, but we do try to our best to I think we have one of the most comprehensive both internal and third-party systems combined. So we have one of the most comprehensive systems to prevent money laundering and to also help victims recover funds from hackers. And we also help victims, even if they send funds to a wrong address, we try to help them recover that. So we have quite a lot of this infrastructure in place, which people don't really hear about or don't really hear that often about, and many people have misconceptions about it. But I would say we probably have one of the most comprehensive KYC AML systems on the planet.
How has KYC and AML in the industry changed since when you started, even before Binance, you know, when you were at OKCoin? Like how has it become, you know, how has it evolved? Is it stricter? And
yeah, I think over the last 5 years, things have become much more mature. So number one, the tools, the third-party blockchain analysis tools I mentioned have become much more mature. So before there was like maybe in 2014, there was no company doing that. And then I think right now there's like 8 or 9 different companies who all do that. And they now cover more blockchains, not just Bitcoin and not just Ethereum. So Ethereum was like Ethereum and ERC20 tokens was a new addition to most of these tools in the last couple of years. So, and also some of these tools like CoinForm now supports Binance Chain transactions as well. So a lot of these tools become much more mature. And also the automated KYC AML tools are also becoming much better. So Jumio, like Authentics, Onfido, all of their services become much smarter to facilitate a real-time processing with AI. So you can, we have tools where we ask the user to sort of take a video of themselves on a mobile phone. They have to blink their eye, squeeze their tongue. So they have to, and then the AI AI algorithms match that to a real person and together with their ID. So a lot of these technologies and the AI pattern, human facial recognition, all of these technologies actually also improved in the last 5 years. So now we are able to onboard people very quickly and relatively painlessly, but also fully compliant with all these tools being available. And I also, the third aspect of this is the regulatory clarity has become much better in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years. When we first started, everyone, like many countries, don't have the clear regulatory stance whether Bitcoin is illegal or not. Some countries try to ban. There was many rumors of ban or not ban. But I think right now, in most countries, blockchain cryptocurrencies are accepted, and they're kind of known to, they will last, they'll stay around. And especially with leading countries like big players like US, China, they're now really embracing blockchain. So that aspect of it has also made it a lot easier for crypto players like business providers in this space to be able to provide our business in a more clear way. So I think basically over the last 5 years or even just 2 years, we have come a long way. And I think over the next couple of years, more and more countries will have much clearer regulations towards crypto. So hopefully that will help the industry grow.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. So the EU is proposing new crypto regulation. Other sort of developed countries are cracking down a bit or just coming up with frames to regulate crypto. How do you think, you know, the EU one and other regulations are going to impact Binance's business?
Sure. So I think, to be very honest, so there's a couple of different parts. Having regulatory clarity is good. So it's better than not, like we're not sure if we're in a gray area, we don't know what to do, we don't know what we can or cannot do. So having regulatory clarity is good. But at the same time, I do think that the first iterations of regulations in most regions are going to be overly restrictive. So because what regulators are going to do is they're going to take the traditional financial regulations and apply them to crypto. So the security regulator is going to call it a security and dump all the security regulations on that. And then the derivatives regulators are going to dump on all the commodities regulations on Bitcoin and crypto. And then, so this is a fairly natural thing for people to do. This is fairly logical. So I think there's nothing wrong with that that type of approach. But fundamentally, cryptocurrencies is a different type of asset. Many of the current regulations do not take into account that, look, you can just transfer the value on the blockchain, and there's no KYC, there is no AML, and there's DeFi, there's liquidity pools, there's decentralized exchanges, and there's no KYC, no AML, and there's a lot of transactions on those platforms. Just regulating a couple centralized entities doesn't really solve the problem. It just pushes some of the transactions onto decentralized platforms. And today, the decentralized platforms are quite mature, and they have good liquidity, sometimes even better than centralized exchanges. So I think the first iteration of the most of the regulations are going to be likely going to be overly restrictive. Certain countries will figure this out and probably have more progressive and more relaxed and more balanced regulations that encourages innovation. And we also need innovation in the regulatory space. So to come up with better and more appropriate regulations. And I think that's going to take time to iterate over time. So hopefully, I think what's going to happen is the next couple of years, we will have more regulatory clarity, but we will have a lot of restrictions. And then after that, hopefully things will get better over time, hopefully. So that's kind of my a guess on what's going to happen. I could be wrong. But we want to do our part to help facilitate as much as possible to come up with sensible and meaningful regulations that's helpful to innovation. So we are engaged in as much as we can dialogues with regulators around the world, and we try to learn from one to teach the other, etc. So hopefully that will help. But in terms of impact, I think, so there's both positive and negative impact. Having clarity is good for us. Having overly restrictive regulations will be bad for us. Having good regulations will be good for us. So we'll have to see. But I think overall the industry is growing really rapidly, and the regulators in most countries are rapidly catching up, which is good. So hopefully we can evolve in a positive way quickly.
So I'm just wondering, you mentioned, DeFi, there's no AML and no KYC, right? Because it's essentially not, it's not an entity really. Do you think it's sustainable to think that regulators will be fine with these big pools of money where no one checks who's putting the money in and what's used for? Like, it just seems a bit, I mean, I remember early days of ICOs, there was no KYC and people are like, oh yeah, we're not doing KYC, but that rapidly changed, right? When regulators are realizing that, why is money going there? No one checking where it's coming from.
Yeah. So I don't really know the answer to that, to be honest. I'm not a regulator, and also there's many different regulators in each country, not to mention the world. So how different regulators going to react to that is going to be interesting. There are some really, I think SEC Commissioner Pierce Hester is on this same conference. She said that the DeFi is going to pose a lot of interesting challenges for regulators. I think that's a really, really
and she's very crypto friendly. So imagine what the non-crypto friendly people think. Yeah. But sorry, I interrupted you.
It's okay. Yeah. But look, if you think about this problem, it is really, really hard to crack, right? So yes, you can say, look, anyone who writes a smart contract is going to be thrown into jail. That's really going to damage innovation, especially like, for example, in a country like the US, in LA, where there's the technology innovation hub, where a lot of the DeFi projects actually do stem from. That would really damage the credibility of the regulators as well as the sort of startup economy. So there are very, very heavy consequences. And then even if you do that to people in the States, how do you prevent somebody in, I don't know, China, India, Russia writing a smart contract, slapping deploying it onto Ethereum or some other blockchain, and so how to deal with that? And a lot of and they can stay anonymous, right? So anybody can write a code and just upload it without disclosing who they are. So some of the DeFi liquidity pools are already doing that. So this poses some really, really interesting challenges. I unfortunately don't have all the answers myself. There's really no easy answers. So I think it's really just a balance of where we want to protect the sort of average consumers from scams, from exit scams, etc. But we also want to encourage innovation. But fundamentally, this technology makes it really, really hard to sort of fully clamp down because most regulators do not span the world. and different parts of the world will more likely allow this to some degree. So yeah, I mean, even today, people say code is speech, and so we want, in most countries we have freedom of speech. So this is going to be a pretty tough problem to crack. So on the flip side, I think I think there are probably better ways, instead of thinking of how to control this, there's probably better ways to fight hackers, illicit use of funds, etc. So blockchain do offer a much easier to track mechanism because the transactions are transparent. And with the big data capabilities, with stronger analysis abilities, it actually offers a different type of easier way to track funds. So we can actually track illicit funds better. So maybe on that front, we can find ways to better track funds through the blockchain, so that we actually target specifically the bad players and then leave the good guys, the regular guys, alone. So there may be more innovative ways than just to say, okay, everything we do, you have to upload your photo ID. Even photo IDs can be faked. So there are other approaches, I think, with which probably can be applied to blockchain much easier than they can be applied to traditional banking industries. So I think on one side, there's some difficulties, and on the other side, there are also some new opportunities, new ways to do compliance, etc. So that's a balance. We'll have to see how the industry develops.
I guess for the last question, we've spoken about, regulators all over the world. You guys are all over the world. Which markets do you see as ones with most opportunity for Binance now, for crypto and for Binance? Which countries, which markets?
Yeah, this is actually an interesting question. I don't have a good answer for it. So Binance is one of those very few organizations that's grown internationally from the very beginning, from day one. So most startups, they grow from one country, and then they conquer that country, and then they go to the next. This has to do with either banking channel limitations or culture limitations, physical team location limitations. We benefited from the fact that we only dealt with crypto in our early days, and you deposit Bitcoin or Ethereum through the blockchain from anywhere, and you start a trade. And so that removed the geographic limitation for us. And we've grown very, very internationally in 180 different countries at the same time. And our user spread mimics the GDP spread quite closely. There are a few anomalies in countries where the local economy is not very stable. So by spanning the entire world, we actually have very different strategies. We have to deploy very different strategies for different parts of the world. For the established economies, you want to go full compliance, integrate with banks, existing fiat financial gateways so that you get the fiat in. On the other extreme, so you have very less developed areas like Africa, which doesn't have a lot of financial infrastructure. So then there, we actually have an opportunity to just leapfrog that, so that people don't have to go to the bank to create a bank account. They can just get a mobile phone, download a wallet, and then create a Binance account, and they can start from there. So there are different strategies at different places. So for us, I think we just our philosophy is now we want to go local. So initially we got global and we just had one product, and now we actually want to go local. We want to much more finely localize our products, our customer support, our product our offerings there. So we deploy very different strategies, and I do view. So I have a very different view than most other people. I view the world as one. So we try different things in different regions. I actually don't know which one's going to be the next big thing to grow. It's basically impossible to predict the future. If you ask me, like even 6 months ago, stablecoin trading is going to be a thing, I will not believe you. But today, stablecoin trading is a big thing for DeFi. And in 2016, if you ask me what's the next trigger, I would not have said ICOs of blockchain fundraising. So it's very hard to predict. But we typically listen to our users and then react. So I'm not a very good predictor, but we do try to just provide the best services for our users when they ask for it.
Okay. All right. I think we've run out of time. Thank you so much, CZ.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. Thank you for having me. Thanks, guys, for listening.